What's going on, YouTube, and welcome back to Goal Line Hockey. It's your boy Kevin Forte, and today we are going to be taking a look again at the Washington Capitals. The Washington Capitals have been one of the great stories of this year so far in the 2024-2025 NHL season. The Washington Capitals right now, just to keep you up to date with what's going on, the Washington Capitals currently sit tied for second place in the National Hockey League standings. Now, up to this point, they've pretty much been either the top team in points or right around the top. And the most concerning thing for anybody out there that is maybe a Caps hater, you have to be looking at the Caps right now. They've been without their captain, that guy Alex Ovechkin. You might have heard of him a couple times here or there. They've been without Ovechkin, and they're still finding ways to win hockey games. What happens when Alex Ovechkin, the great eight, what happens when he comes back into the lineup? We have a lot to talk about here in today's video. So the Washington Capitals, their quest for another Stanley Cup. Is it something that's realistic? Now, the Washington Capitals won their first Stanley Cup in 2018, and they've had a couple pretty good seasons up to that point. They won the President's Trophy, I think it was 2016 or 2017. They got Kevin Shattenkirk at the trade deadline. They made a couple big moves. They end up not winning that year, end up kind of flailing out in the first round, a major disappointment. And then they end up winning the Stanley Cup in 18. Ovies in National Park, the Nationals baseball stadium, in the fountain with the Stanley Cup. We remember that whole thing, right? Could we be seeing that again in 2025? And the reality is, that is on the table. For anybody out there that maybe doesn't want to see the Capitals and their success, this is a team that is very different than what I thought they were going to be this year. And I kind of have had them on the same trajectory as the Pittsburgh Penguins, right? They were the Golden Boys in the Metropolitan Division when it was created. And the Capitals and the Penguins were the top teams in the Metro. And you had teams like the Rangers in the mix and Carolina. They were always sneaky good teams, but never to the point where it was Capitals or Penguins. Those were the top two teams. Excuse me, guys. Still getting over a cold. What makes this team so interesting is the narrative around this team has always been this team can score goals when Ovechkin's in the lineup and playing well. Apologies for that. This is a team that can win and play well when Ovechkin's on his game. But they haven't had the depth scoring. That's not the case to start this season at the very least. Sorry, guys. Right now, leading the way in points, who do you think it is? Are you going to say Oshie? He's not there anymore. Backstrom? He's not there anymore. You know it's not Ovechkin right now because he's missed the last 10 games. So who could possibly be leading this team in points right now? Dylan Strome with 36 points in 28 games. Alexei Protas. 26 points in 28 games. I for sure did not have that on my bingo card. Alexei Protas, Connor McMichael, also with 26 points. That's to be expected a little bit more. The Washington Capitals are finding ways to score goals other than Alexander Ovechkin. And the death nail should have been, the death certificate should have been written for the Capitals for the next decade. Losing Backstrom, Ovechkin, the goaltending situation. This team should have been left for dead. But the management of the Washington Capitals, and to be honest, let's give credit where it's due here to head coach Spencer Carberry. The Washington Capitals are a legitimate contender because of the guys that have stepped up. Like a Dylan Strome, who is really playing well this season. Alexei Protas with 11 goals already this year. That I almost fell over when I saw that. The first time I looked up the stats here and was looking at the Capitals, all right, Dylan Strome, McMichael, Ovechkin, Wilson, Carlson, Dubois, all right, I expect that. Protas? Now, this isn't necessarily the biggest surprise, considering how he's done in the American Hockey League with the Hershey Bears. He is a good player. But to the level that he's been doing it with the Capitals right now, is like, whoa, whoa, What is going on here? Definitely not something we fully expected. He is a former third-round pick in the 2019 NHL draft. So it's not like he's a sixth-round plug that made it into the lineup. 6'6", 225. He definitely fits the mold for a pretty good Capitals player there, playing alongside guys like Tom Wilson and Pierre-Luc Dubois. Bigger guys that can produce points. So when we look at the Capitals, like I said, this is without their leading goal scorer in Alexander Ovechkin, and that is very difficult to do. And most Capitals teams, really the past 2 or 3 years, without Ovechkin, this team would have been written for dead. But that is not the case for the Capitals at the end of 2024. And we talked about the goaltending thing, right? They've lost some good goalies over the years. The goaltending's been shaky the last few years, really since Braden Holtby left. Charlie Lindgren has come in and done really well. But Logan Thompson has also been a really bright spot for the Washington Capitals in between the pipes. And when we look at both the goalies here, Logan Thompson, a .913 save percentage in 14 games. He's got 11 wins on his 14 starts. That is quite impressive. And Lindgren in 14 games has a .901 save percentage. So both these guys combined have a .907 save percentage. And for the Capitals for the last couple of years, they've had decent goaltending. But especially Lindgren's numbers have come down a little bit compared to where they were last year. But that's not affecting the team because of how good Logan Thompson has been. And for the Capitals, the combination of getting depth goal scoring, pretty solid defense all around, and the young guys stepping up, the Capitals are a legit contender in the East this year, for better or for worse. And when you look at the other teams in their division, how do they stack up against some of these teams? Early on in the season, they lost to the Devils opening night. They beat them in the second game they played. They had a back-to-back with the Flyers, pretty much spanked the Flyers in both of those games. They beat the Rangers in their first contest against the Rangers earlier this year. They've beaten the Islanders. They've beaten the Devils again since then. They've beaten the Columbus Blue Jackets. So they're beating teams in their division. They're finding ways to win against teams that they really should be beating. And you look at Pittsburgh. They did lose to Pittsburgh. Carolina, they have a couple games here and there. They haven't played their absolute best. But the Washington Capitals, this is, again, when you consider that this team, let's just look, since the Ovechkin injury, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 10 games, okay? So let's go over the 5-game stretch before Ovechkin got injured. They won 4 of those 5 games before Ovechkin's injury. Since the 10 games since the Ovechkin injury, they lost their first 2. So we're sitting there saying, uh-oh, what's going on? 3 goals in 2 games for the Caps. Ovechkin's out. Is this it? And then they said no. Because then they went on and rattled a 4-game winning streak. So then they were 4-2 in their first 6 games without Ovi. Then they lose 1 in overtime against the Sharks. So technically they still picked up a point even in that loss. Yeah, you lost to the Sharks. But they still picked up a point. And then 3 straight wins against the Maple Leafs, Canadiens, and the Blue Jackets. A clean sweep of that road trip before heading back home now to end December. Guys, the Capitals are 7-3. 7-2-1. 7-2-1 since Ovechkin went down with that injury. And this is a real world we're living in, where the Capitals, with the young combination of young guys they brought in, Pierre-Luc Dubois, Jacob Chychrun, and obviously the veteran core like Wilson, Ovi, Carlson, the combination of all 3 of those coming together alongside the goaltending, the Washington Capitals are a legit contender in the Eastern Conference. And what's even better about this team, when you look at their goals for, goals against, pretty solid. Goals for, second best in the National Hockey League. So they're scoring goals. And that's without the greatest goal scorer of this generation in Alexander Ovechkin. Plus, their goals against. It's top 5 in the National Hockey League as well. It's 5th best in the NHL right now. So not only are they scoring a bunch of goals, contributing from different sources, the young guys producing, the older guys just getting enough in there without Ovechkin, and their defense and goaltending is holding up their end of the bargain as well. This Capitals team is very different than what I thought in the beginning of the year. If you go to my power rankings earlier in the season, and shout out to my guy Toe, he's my Caps fan here on the channel. He was disappointed that I had the Capitals that low. But you know what? Right now, I'm sure he's very happy alongside the rest of our Capitals fans here at Goal Line Hockey, because the Capitals are doing something I absolutely could not have predicted. It wasn't impossible, but I wouldn't have predicted it if I had to put money on the line. This is not the outcome I would have expected for the Capitals. To be honest with you, you look at the team up the road there in the West in Pittsburgh, that's more so what I thought was going to be happening with the Capitals. But they proved me wrong. Shout out credit where it's due. The Capitals made some really pivotal moves in the offseason. They let some guys go they really didn't want to lose. A lot of them to injury, like Backstrom and Oshie over the last couple years. That kind of wasn't a choice. They made some changes in between the pipes, playing alongside Lindgren. I love that they kept Lindgren. I thought that was a great move when they signed him. I was right about that. I wasn't too sure about Logan Thompson coming in, though. But boy, has he proved me wrong. He's playing really well. And the rest of that defense, I thought there was a lot more concerns for that defense, but they're finding a way. And give credit, like I said earlier in the video, to Spencer Carberry for everything he has done for this Capitals team, giving them a chance every night to win hockey games. They're a tough team to play against. They're physical. That game against the Islanders, they were down 4-2 going into the third period. End up winning that game 5-4. They're finding ways to win in different ways. They're finding ways to get depth scoring, depth contributions from throughout the lineup. And the key moves that we saw in the offseason that I would have said Chychrun, Dubois, Thompson, those are your key acquisitions in the offseason. I don't know about that. They're finding a way to make it work now. And don't forget Alexei Protas. Unbelievable. Unbelievable Alexei Protas. We're going to talk about Ovechkin later this week. So if you guys want to keep up with the Capitals information, make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe to this channel, because I will be making a video about Ovechkin's quest to break the all-time goal-scoring record. We'll be talking about that later this week. So if you're interested, make sure to check that out. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching today's video. And let me know down below, what do you guys think of the Caps? Do you think they can win the Stanley Cup in 25? What do you guys think is going to happen? Let me know down below. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you again next time.